Eric, you and I talked on my show yesterday, and you said there's no way Tom Brady retires, okay? So I'm not asking you, will he? I'm asking you, should he? I mean, think about how close they came to not being here. Think about the fact that probably don't have Gronk next year. Maybe he comes back, and obviously he's bought into the idea of being – but the league seems to be getting close to figuring them out, even if they can't figure them out in January. And he's not the same as he once was. He's just not. He didn't play great football. He still found a way. You start by beating the Rams. You end by beating the Rams. When is enough enough? If he was asking you, look, my wife's been on me to retire for years. Should he?
No, I don't think he should. And when you hear Tom talk, someone asked him what ring was his favorite, and he said the next one. And I really believe that's his approach. And to say that he's not playing at a high level, I don't think that's true. You just were talking about Pittsburgh, and they lose Le'Veon Bell, they lose Antonio Brown, the sky's falling. Every single year, the Patriots are losing someone. It's Brandon Cooks, it's Nate Soldier, it's take your pick. And somebody else comes in. The thing that Tom is that makes him unique is he's a force multiplier. So if you go to New England and you do what you're supposed to do, and you're in the right spot, you're going to get the ball. You're going to have a chance to be really successful. And he allows that to happen. And it's not about one player or one piece. It's about his ability to put those pieces together. And then you've got Josh McDaniels. He's coming back. That's huge. Dante Scarnecchia, the offensive line coach, who should get the MVP trophy if New England wins a Super Bowl. It looks like he's coming back too. Bill comes back. You've got that continuity. Why not keep resetting the bar of what greatness is?
I want to ask you about offensive line play because I think their defensive line was way better than we expected. And I know a lot of people are killing the Kansas City Chiefs defense, and they fired Bob Sutton. But if you've watched Kansas City, they have a great offensive line in terms of the talent of pass rushers. How were they able to keep him clean? Like, he wasn't touched in either of the playoff games against two really good pass rushes. How were they able to do it?
Well, and he's going to face another good group, but what they're able to do is they're able to keep guys off balance. And you saw early in the game they went big people. They went a traditional 21 set, two backs, one tight end, two wide receivers. What we've seen historically we think of historically as traditional football, and they played big boy football. They went right at him. They ran the ball. It was physical. So that's like the equivalent of a body blow in boxing. And I assume you're going to get a lot of that in the Rams game as well. So you do that slows guys down. Then you run a lot of quick passes out of the backfield. So even if you want to pressure, you're not getting home. So you're thinking, is it really worth it to pressure at this point because the ball's coming out so quick? Then mix in Cordell Patterson, and he's the gadget guy, but instead of using him for gadgets, they fake the ball to him, and they bring it to someone else. So now the defense has to cover the whole field, and it forces the D lineman especially to start thinking. And I can't just tee off. I've got to react to the outside run. Here comes the physical inside type of plays. The ball's coming out quickly. So it's getting those guys to play on their heels. And I would imagine against the Rams, you're going to get some more no huddle. And you saw New Orleans do that to some degree, and the Rams were having a tough time getting lined up. They were having a tough time teeing off because they weren't set to go. They couldn't match the tempo, and they're going to have a tough time matching the tempo this week.
What about the other side? Eric Mangini joining us. I'm Doug Gottlieb along with Joy Taylor in for Colin. This is The Herd on Fox Sports Radio, Fox Sports 1. The other side, they got some pressure on Pat Mahomes. No quarterback's the same when he gets hit, and they hit him a little bit, and he was seeing a little bit of shadows. How are they able? That's a good offensive line. How are they able to get pressure on the Chiefs?
It's what they do really well is they identify weakness, and then they exploit the weakness, and they also talk about things you need to do to win the game. And I'm sure one of the points that Bill made in order to win the game was to keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket, and they did that effectively. So the Chiefs' tackles, offensive tackles, set so deep, and you saw early in the game where the defensive ends, New England's outside rushers, were coming up the field. Chiefs were setting deep. Then they'd come inside. Okay, that put pressure on Patrick, and the tackles would loop around and set an edge. So now there's pressure in the pocket, but there was nowhere for him to go. So all those untimed plays that were so effective for the Chiefs throughout the course of the season, they couldn't get to. Then the other thing is, as a young quarterback, sometimes you don't believe what's in front of you. So J.C. Jackson is man-to-man. J.C. Jackson, rookie DB out of Maryland is man-to-man on Travis Kelce with no help the whole first half, and they don't really get the ball to him because they were assuming. I imagine he assumed Kelce was going to be doubled. So instead of going out there and saying, okay, what really is it? There's almost this assumption by young guys that this is what's going to happen.
What did you think of how Sean Payton coached in the NFC Championship game? Some of the play calling. Do you have any negative reaction to it?
I thought overall he did a good job. I thought Wade Phillips did a nice job of taking away some things that were a problem in the first game, and he made some adjustments to what they were doing with Kamara out of the backfield. They started to butch him out of the backfield. You know, the call, we've all talked about the call over and over again, and I get it. And we've all been frustrated by calls that were either missed or made that affected our lives, but that's part of what happens, and maybe they'll change the rule. The only concern I have is they had a chance to go win the game. They had a chance to play defense. Then they got the ball first, just like New England did in overtime. So they had a little bit higher percentage of an opportunity to win the game, and they didn't. And then they had a chance to play defense again, and the Rams kick a 57-yard field goal. So you just wonder if that call got everybody so preoccupied with that moment that they weren't able to move on to all the other moments that would have given them opportunity to not even have to worry about the call.
Look, I've been critical, and I think other people have as well, of not running the ball first, second, third down to take away the chances for the Rams, take away their timeouts. I know they checked out of a run on first down. And even the pass, which was a pass interference, wasn't that ball thrown to the inside, should have been thrown to the outside?
Well, here's what I'll say about that is over and over again we celebrate, God, he takes chances. Remember in the Super Bowl, he kicked an onside kick.
Yep.
He takes chances. So to criticize the guy for putting the ball in his best player's hand, in Drew Brees' hands in a critical moment, I have a really hard time with. And even if they had run the ball 3 times, there still would have been, I think, 50 seconds left. In the first game...
If they don't get a first down. You are allowed to get a first down when you run the football.
You are, and you're allowed to get stopped, and you're allowed to get a penalty, and you're allowed... A lot of other bad things can happen.
Right.
But in the first game, there were 26 seconds left in the first half when the Rams got the ball back, and they walked down and kick a field goal. So to say that they couldn't do that in 50 seconds, well, that's not true. We saw it happen in the first game. So I think it's very easy after the fact to say he should have done this, he should have done that, but he put the ball in his best player's hands. He checked out of a bad play into a good play. And look, they got a penalty. It should have been a penalty. So to criticize him for that, I don't feel good about it. I don't love the way things were handled after that moment.
Fair. Brees hasn't looked the same. Have we reached that point with Brees, or is it a year, the attrition of a season, and that's what happens with older players? They wear down at the end of the year. Like Brees was not nearly as dynamic end of the year as most people think Brees should be.
Well, this offense was shaped a little bit differently. They had 2 running backs that were really effective, and it was almost a run first approach. And I didn't see Brees' performance later in the year as a decline. I think sometimes the scheme dictates, more running than passing, and it may look a little bit different than what we've expected from that offense. But I don't think it was different because his performance had declined substantially.
Would you consider the Cowboys if you're Payton?
Why? Like, I don't know why
hit reset with a better, younger roster.
Is it a better, younger roster? And Sean has I'm sure a significant amount of influence on what happens day to day. Personnel, coaches, all those different things. In Dallas, you have to have a relationship with the owner who is the GM, and he has final say. And you saw the amount of coaches that have been spun through there, the assistant coaches. That roster is almost completely turned over, and I don't think that's all a function of Jason Garrett. So there needs to be a special coach in Dallas to deal with that dynamic, and I think Jason Garrett is good for that situation. They've won the NFC East, 2 out of the last 3 years or 3 out of the last 5, whatever it is. That's fairly productive.
But it does feel like there's still this discontent with Garrett over play calling. That's why they changed coordinators, and he's still not going to call plays. In one fell swoop, you can fix 2 problems, right? You get the head coach, the play caller, and you have a guy who's had the success previously. I'm just look.
Yeah, you know what really helps with play calling?
We have better players.
Yeah, Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So that's a really
well.
So Drew Brees, Dak Prescott, and look, maybe Dak is going to continue to grow, but let's look at those two guys and call the same play and see how effective they are.
I agree with you. I don't think there's any disputing that a lot of football people think one of the reasons they're so conservative with their play calling is they don't think the quarterback is so dynamic that he can make better plays. So, and by the way, you got a running back like Ezekiel. I want to talk about running back. Go ahead.
Okay. I just think anytime you have to talk about a quarterback needing more weapons, that to me is the difference between Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. They make the people around them better. And then when you've got to bring all these weapons in for a quarterback, you might not have the right guy.
Okay, so do you think Todd Gurley's right? Do you think he's healthy right now?
I think that New England needs to stop Todd Gurley, and if you underestimate Todd Gurley, who's averaged 4.9 yards a carry, it will kill you. And he's an explosive player. Did he have a down game? He did. Were they able to win when he had a down game? Yeah, but go into a game and underestimate that guy, and he'll kill you.
Okay, so but there has been a substantial decline in his production over the last quarter of the season, and there's this thought that he hadn't been healthy. That's the reason that McVay's gone more to C.J. Anderson than going to him.
Sometimes, and look, I give McVay a lot of credit. It's hard to continue to feed a guy that isn't Todd Gurley, and I give Todd Gurley credit for accepting that role when he wasn't having a very good day. But if you're going to bet the odds, I would bet that Todd Gurley is the guy that's going to give you the best chance to win this next game as opposed to C.J. Anderson.
You think the Patriots win?
So last week, if you had asked me who objectively I would have picked Kansas City. But emotionally, if I had to put money on the game, I would have put money on New England because I've just been there, going through that 3 times in New England and being on the sideline with Tom and understanding their approach. Now listen to this stat. They've played 10 Thursday night games and 9 Super Bowls. They have made the Super Bowl the equivalent of an aberration during the scheduling in the week. It's amazing. As that group is getting ready for another game, this other very inexperienced group
is getting ready for the first time.
And
it's crazy stuff.
So much stuff.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.